Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey here, once again with another video on Supergirl Season 3, and this is going to be my review for Episode 7, otherwise entitled, Wake Up.
Past couple of months when I dream, I see Mon-El.
God, it's unreal.
It's incredible.
You have to learn more about the ship Mon-El was on.
Why did you wake up?
How is he breathing?
Those and the other changes.
Are they dangerous?
You're different.
Is it not you?
It's me.
They make me believe it.
So obviously before we get into the rest of the videos, there will be spoilers throughout this video for the episode, and a lot happens in this episode. I wouldn't have spoiled what happens right towards the end in the title, just don't complain about that. But yeah, a lot happens, so be sure to go watch the episode if you have not seen it before you continue on with the rest of this video. So last episode was a sort of really good filler episode. It was filler, but it was really good when we went to Mid-Val. Not much really to talk about in this episode. Really, a lot of this episode doesn't even acknowledge what happened last episode for the most part, so yeah, really not much to talk about when it comes to episode 6 from last week. So one of the big things about this episode was Samantha and her powers, obviously because last week was that filler episode, we had no Samantha. There was not even a hint at Samantha, so it was from the episode before that where Samantha had the bullet hit her in like the belly, I guess, when that adult protester started shooting up at the Lena Luthor conference sort of thing. So that continues on in this episode, and Samantha's wondering more and more about her powers, which we'll talk about in a second. One of the cooler moments of the episode, like I wasn't really expecting it, was when Jean sort of grabbed Kara and Win around and then just like sort of did his like sort of walk through walls thing and just like fell through the floor and into that ship which we had seen back in episode 1. So finally we got the payoff from seeing that ship. A lot of us, including myself, was like, okay, is that Rain's ship? Because you couldn't really tell how big it was because they really didn't have any like comparison, like, you know, a shark swimming next to it or anything like that. So I just thought it was like a small ship, but this ship is huge, it's massive. But when we get to that ship, guess who's in there? There's a lot of pods, which we'd seen at the end of episode 5 or 4, one of the two. But guess who's in there? It's Mon-El, which we had seen in the trailer. I guess they had to hype it up in the trailers that Mon-El was coming back. But it would have been a pretty cool reveal if Mon-El just walked out and I was like, oh, what the hell? But we find out that Mon-El can still breathe on Earth, and I'm just like, okay, and everyone else is like, okay, what's going on here? Because the air is still filled with lead. Like, the air is still extremely toxic to him, like to a Daxmite, because of all the lead, so how the hell is he breathing? Now, as I said, Samantha and her powers were sort of a big thing in this episode, and we see her go and visit her adoptive mother called Patricia. She doesn't call her mum, it's, hey Patricia, how's it going? And she wasn't that big of a part in this episode, like she was in regards to the story, like pushing it forward, but in regards to the amount of time she was in this episode, there wasn't a lot. Now, she was played by Betty Buckley, who I know from Split. She's like the therapist, like psychiatrist sort of thing in Split, so it's pretty cool seeing her in here playing Samantha's adoptive mother. But she actually reveals to Samantha that, yo, you're sort of an alien, and here's your ship. Now, this whole scene sort of reminded me of like Smallville and even Man of Steel in some cases. Like, I guess you could say it's sort of like Kara, but it just had some Smallville feels about like the location and going to the barn and everything like that. It just reminded me of Smallville, and even from last week in Supergirl, there was a lot of Smallville references. Smallville's been a pretty big part of Supergirl in regards to references lately and just, you know, pushing its ideas into the show. Now, a sort of like side story in this episode was Jean and his father, Marin. I think that's how you pronounce it, or Merton, one of the two. I don't really care too much about pronouncing his name. I'm just going to call him Jean's dad. Anyways, Jean and his dad had a bit of like a side story going on in this episode. It was pretty funny, like how his dad's like reaction to coffee is like, yes, and then it's like coffee. It's because of how like the Martians write their names like Moon, Jean, and stuff like that. So I thought that was pretty funny. But it was nice to see Jean and his father just spend some time together, and then at the end of the episode they end up moving into an apartment together. So I'm interested to see how that plays on in the rest of the season. It's not the most interesting storyline, but still a nice storyline to see play out because it does involve Jean and his family and stuff like that, which is good to see. Now, Mon-El, even though he's back, was being a bit sneaky, so we saw him walking around the DEO doing certain things, and I was wondering, okay, why the hell is he doing this? Like, why is he taking certain things from, like, the weaponry and stuff like that? And I thought, like, there was maybe something embedded in him, which there could be. We might find the next couple of episodes after the crossover, which is next episode, so there's not going to be any Mon-El for the most part, you would think. But the episodes to follow, they might dive more into Mon-El and maybe why he was doing that. But I'm pretty sure he was doing it just so he could get back to the ship to do what he had to do, as we saw when Win helped him escape. Now when Supergirl comes and gets him, we find out that, Mon-El's been gone for 7 months our time. That makes sense. Usually the shows pick up around 5-6 months after the previous season ends. So yeah, it's around 7 months. But for Mon-El, he's actually been gone for 7 years. So he went through that portal and landed in the 31st century, might I say, which I think a lot of us knew was happening if you knew that Legion of Superheroes was coming in, because Legion of Superheroes are based in the 31st century, so that makes sense. So he has been gone for ages, so he had sort of had to move on from what had been going on Earth. So it made sense like why he was doing what he was doing and stuff like that. Now, one of the cooler parts of the episode was when Samantha goes on a journey to find out more about herself after getting that sort of like crystal thing from the ship at her adopted mother's house. And essentially, she builds her own Fortress of Solitude. Now, it's called the Fortress of Sanctuary. Makes sense. It wouldn't be called the Fortress of Solitude, would it? But it's made of stone instead of ice. I thought that was really cool. And yeah, we head inside, but we'll talk about that in a second. And to finish off really the Kara and Mon-El sort of stuff in this episode, we meet Imra, who is actually Mon-El's wife. So Imra is actually Saturn Girl. I'm wondering when they're going to dive more into Legion of Superheroes. They might save that for the beginning of the back half of the season, so like the mid-season premiere, because the mid-season finale is going to have to do a lot with what we find out or see at the end of this episode. But you'd have to assume that everyone else in those pods on the ship are members of the Legion of Superheroes. I wonder if we're going to meet all of them. I think we might meet them gradually. I know they did cast, was it Brainiac 5 I think they cast? So I don't know if we're going to see him in the episode 9, or it might be like the cliffhanger or something, because you'd like to see a cliffhanger in a mid-season finale. But I guess you have to wait and see, but you'd have to assume that everyone else on that ship is a Legion of Superheroes member. But then we get to the awesome part of the episode right at the end when we see Samantha go into this Fortress of Sanctuary and she learns all about her past. So she goes in and she starts to learn everything, and she starts thinking that she's like Supergirl. She's a hero. She's going to be donning a cape, cool crest, flying around National City, or maybe another city. Who knows? She might move to, just spread the heroic adventures out. But she finds out, she's been built for another intention, and that's, to be a world killer. Now, it was interesting to find out that due to her having Ruby, her daughter, before she was 18, actually delayed her, process. Like, she should have become Rain, started doing everything a while ago. So she would have, technically, if she didn't have Ruby, she would have been this world killer before Supergirl was even a thing. So really, she could have been a threat to Superman. But then we officially see Samantha become Rain. It was just like this whole process. It looked like Samantha was in a lot of pain. I would have liked it if we saw some more like visual imagery, because really it was just Samantha going on her knees and screaming, and then her eyes sort of going red, sort of. It was not disappointing, but it could have been better. But next episode in regards to Supergirl, so not the crossover, but the episode after, episode 9, that being the mid-season finale, is a whole episode about Rain. I think the actual episode is called Rain. So I'm very excited to see what happens there and how much of a threat she is to Supergirl. I'm going to guess she smashes the hell out of Supergirl, but it might be because Supergirl's a bit wary, or like backs off a bit because she recognizes like, hey, that's Samantha, that's like Lena's friend, so she might back off a bit. But one of the things I'm very interested to see is if Samantha continues on with her day-to-day life, because I heard that like her and Lena were meant to be close buddies, and that's like her becoming Rain causes like an argument between, or like a separation between Lena and Supergirl or Kara. But I don't think that's the case, because I think with her going Rain, she becomes this complete other person, unless she puts on this fake persona to be the old Samantha. And then I guess another question comes up is what the hell happens to Ruby? Because, well, Ruby's sort of screwed now. I know Ruby's staying with someone. Was it a grandma or something? Or like a neighbor? I really didn't pay attention to that bit of the episode because I thought it was kind of boring. But Ruby's sort of with someone at the moment. So, yeah, what's going to happen with her? I hope Ruby doesn't die, because it's a bit brutal to see a child die. Even though I did say that I thought Ruby would be like a trigger point for her becoming Rain. But because like the process with her becoming Rain was a bit different than I thought of what it would be, I would prefer if Ruby stayed alive now, because, yeah, don't want to see a child die. And there's no real need for her to die now, because Samantha is already Rain. She's got a different mindset. She's a different person now. But, yeah, looking forward to the mid-season finale of Supergirl after the crossover. We've got a good couple of weeks of DC TV coming up, and I'm pretty damn excited. But overall, I thought this was a really strong episode of Supergirl. I guess the John stuff could be seen as like the letdown, if you want to say, but I thought it was still funny. Like, those were the more comedic bits, but also the more heartfelt bits as well. The heart's on this side, Pagey, not that side. Heartfelt bits. And the Mon-El story was okay, even though it didn't reveal a lot. I would have maybe liked if they confirmed the Legion of Superheroes. But what are you going to do? You can't get everything. But yeah, the standout of the episode was definitely Samantha and her Reign storyline. Would have liked to have seen more with her adopted mother. Maybe they deleted some scenes, I'm not too sure. Just because they did get a pretty decent actress in Betty Buckley. I thought they might have had more scenes with her. But yeah, you can't win everything, can you? But I'm excited for Reign, and hopefully you guys are as well. But thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it would be awesome if you could drop a like on the video to show support for the Supergirl videos and the channel as a whole. Let me know in the comment section down below what was your favourite part of the episode. What did you think of Reign? Are you excited to see what goes forward with her? Do you think Ruby's going to die? Do you think Samantha's going to, or Reign, might I say, is going to pretend to be the old Samantha so she can sort of have like a day-to-day life and maybe get some intel on what she's doing? And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. I'll catch you later, guys, and goodbye.